All right, welcome to Two Dads and Six Daughters, our weekly, I don't know, is this a vlog or a podcast or a show?
Well, technically, it's a vlog,
It's a vlog.
Tony.
Yeah, Tony, yes.
But sorry, my light
Sorry.
skinned crew is my life partners are light skinned men. Troy and Tony.
Oh, man. I'm Tony Scott. That, of course, is Marc Clarke. For those who don't know, Marc Clarke and I did a radio show. How long did we work together? About, what, 6 years?
Yeah,
Something like that?
6 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And out of that, we became best friends. And he's my second daughter's godfather. And we think very highly of each other.
Yes,
My sister says, I thought y'all were going to make out on your first show.
That's hilarious.
So the girls have been gone, man. They've been gone for a week. You miss them?
Yeah. I got a little teary eyed when I let them say goodbye, man. It was the babies always get you. You know what I mean? I was kind of surprised. I think again she got me because she started crying, and I was like, "All right, y'all, let me get in the car, okay." And
I gotta take this call.
Yeah,
I'll see y'all later.
Yeah. Allison was tough. Allison was better than me. I was like, man, but I didn't seeing the babies cry, even though I'm Mr. Not Mr. Enforcer, but I'm always barking out things they need to do.
Yeah.
They still your babies, and you see them in that car. It's like, dude, man.
So when you get them back?
Allison's going to get them tomorrow, and they'll be back Sunday.
Okay.
And I have to work, so I was going to go. I was going to go too, but I have to work, so.
Oh, gotcha.
What about you, college dad?
It's 2 weeks away, man. She's going to move into the dorm, and, it's one of those things where she's ready. She's ready.
So you said last time she kind of asked you, she was a little bit like, I really don't want to do this, but you're kind of making me do it.
Yeah.
You think it's changed a bit?
Yeah. I don't think it ever changed. I think that it made this for you. Think about it. She's 18 and she's never really been away from us for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And although she's not going to be that far, but she's not going to be sleeping here anymore, for the most part. And I think that's a little bit, I think she's a little scared. I don't know if that's the right word. I think I'm probably more scared for her than she is for herself because I know how cruel and ugly this world is.
Yeah.
So looking at it from that perspective. And see, I used to always tell my wife, I want them to take self-defense classes. I want them to take something like that, right? And they kept blowing me off. And now here we are where those things may come in handy at some point, right? But they didn't take the class. So, it's just a dad being a dad, man.
Yeah, I just had the same conversation. It's almost like, I guess you can teach them, man. Pull out your old Texas two-step.
Yeah, I can do that.
Your bullwhip and your chair you used to use in your gang days.
Back in the day, Holmes.
Like Barry White, you're the bullwhip. Wasn't Barry White from Galveston?
He was born in Galveston. He was actually from California, from L.A., but his mom was in Galveston visiting friends, and she gave birth. He had never been back to Galveston. He told us that. He had never went back to Galveston since he was born. So, other than being born there, he has no connection. May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. I remember. I knew it was a Barry White story.
Yeah.
Tied to Galveston.
Remember when Joe Torre told us that he heard when Barry White was alive, and he said, I heard his ass the line of his ass fell out. I was like, Joe, what does that mean, Joe? What does that mean? I don't know what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Thanks for that, Tony. That graphic.
But what does that mean? The lining of your ass fell out. What does that mean?
I was trying to remember. Where did I hear that? It was Joe Torre. So, yo, man,
wait. Speaking of Joe Torre, have you seen him on Cinemax?
I was going to ask you. You talked to him, right? I didn't.
No, I haven't talked. I have talked to Guy. I haven't talked to Joe about it, but he was supposed to be coming to town for a comedy show, and would love to have him on.
Yeah.
Right? And to ask him about that, because I was like, Joe, I know your ass like that, Joe.
I thought, because Allison asked me about it, and I said, I think I saw that he was coming to St. Louis. I just assumed you were going to talk to him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't even know if the show has come yet, but if it does, we've got him and his brother Guy have an open invitation.
Well, if the show didn't come yet, he did in that scene.
Man, I never thought I'd see Joe do something like that. I mean, I'm not passing judgment. He's doing what's best for Joe and his family. I get that. And but I mean, Joe was like, whoa! And I actually saw the episode. He's been in a couple of them, and it's like, Joe, say it isn't so,
I
Joe,
remember
man.
when I was, in the heyday in Baltimore. You know what? Small world, man. In fact, I was in Baltimore, and we always talk about me coming back, and Magic had made an offer,
Yeah.
and I asked Joe his opinion. He was at Channel 2 in Baltimore, and he's like, "Man, you gotta go back home, man. You gotta come back home." And
The
I was
funny
like,
thing is that you turned it down for whatever reason it was, and right, and
"Money,
then
of course, it was money."
in our next, but they in our next move, we offered him the job,
Ah, isn't that funny? Right.
and he turned it down.
Okay.
So then we offered it to Guy,
Right.
right, and they weren't sure whether or not to offer it to Guy because like we offered it to Joe. Joe said no. Guy's gonna feel like, why did you come to me first, right? So he may turn it down. I said, well, you won't know unless you offer it to him. They
Yeah.
offered it to Guy, and he says, yeah, I'll do it, right? So he did it, and then when Guy showed Joe the setup at his crib, because we sent him the equipment,
Ah.
right? And then we were paying him, I don't know, 50, 60 G's a year, just to do a 3 hour, and he have to do any show prep. He just had to show up and just off the dome, right?
Hmm.
And Joe, I remember Joe saying that was the worst mistake he ever made. He should have took that gig, man, because that was easy money,
That's what
So
it's got to be, man. Easy money.
easy money. So, man, a lot of things going on, man. This Usher and Tamika, we're taping this on Thursday night. Usher and Tamika are supposed to go to court tomorrow, an emergency hearing, because she wants to challenge the child support thing because of what happened to Cinco. Why do they call this child Cinco? Cinco means five. I mean, he is Usher Raymond the fifth. I get that, but really, Cinco, really?
It's better than
So.
La Puerta. La Puerta.
So, do you think Tamika's out of line for this, man? I mean,
Well,
accidents happen. I know she shook up. Lord knows she's gone. She went through the most horrific thing that a mother can go through, losing a child
yes.
in a water accident. So I get that. But is it an overreaction?
Well, it's so interesting. You know how we all try to be like lawyers. You hear somebody say something, then you steal it and try to apply it. So
Yeah.
I'm with the family yesterday. My father-in-law had a birthday, and of course we had to go to the corral,
The Golden Corral.
the Golden Corral, baby. My my wife,
My dad used to like Golden Corral.
my wife, news anchor up in the corral like a mug.
She
Let me
can't
get
be
some more
seen
of that.
there, man.
Let me get some more of that chocolate, please. Um, so thank you. Um, so I heard, so, when you're with the family, this is when you really get to put on your whole theory on stuff.
Yeah.
So earlier in the day, I heard Star Jones, Star Jones, when she's the lawyer or, her former prosecutor, I think she's at her best in
Yeah. I
that.
agree. I agree. I
Because
agree.
the other stuff, it just seems like it never works right. So
Yeah.
she was saying that when they rule for one parent to have the kids or whatever, it's pretty much it's a solid ruling. They don't really flip flop like that.
Hmm.
And so I was like, well, because everyone was saying, do you think they're asking the same question you asked me? Now, based on Star's information, I was strong with it. Like, well, actually, judges rarely flip flop in these cases. Blah blah blah. I looked at the headline. It's like it looks like you may flip flop. Well, and so to answer your question, I don't. I think just because this accident happened, I can't say that it's his fault. You know what I mean? It's one of those just freak accidents. And sadly, I mean, this, like you said, Tony, after you lose a child, I'm sure you're hypersensitive about that. Obviously, he's not going to be home all the time.
Hmm.
And people were there. It wasn't like, thank God, there were many people there. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like he was by, because if in fact, he was negligent, those people would not be there.
Right.
So there were people there, and that whole, I've heard it happen before. I don't have a pool, but damn, that getting stuck in the damn, suction, that
Drain. Yeah.
happens a
Yeah.
lot. I don't
Yeah.
understand. Maybe
It's a pretty strong suction though. I've kind of like I haven't got stuck in one because I'm twice, 3, 4 times bigger than Cinco. So, but yeah, I can see where a kid his size would have a problem with that. I could see that, but it's a horrible, and God bless him, man. Because I mean, when she lost her son, Usher's stepson, that was, even as much as people don't like Tamika for whatever reason, you still don't wish that on anybody. That's
no.
pretty brutal. So since we're talking about kids, Layla Ali has apologized for saying that Kim Ye naming the baby North was stupid.
Wow.
But you know what? Could she have worded it better? Yeah, maybe. But I mean, it's when your child's last name is West, what would possess you to name the child North?
My
I
thing,
mean,
what I'm not clear about is I heard North at first when when they first had the baby. North was the name, but then I heard another name. So I'm just
yeah, I
like,
did heard another name too. Yeah.
yeah. So what's that all about? Is that just like was that is could that be a joke or be like a nickname? Because I
Well,
think
North.
the other name was like Don. It was like a acknowledging his mother.
Well, the middle name I had read was going to be Donda, and the first name I don't remember what it was going to be.
Yeah,
But either it was just a false report or it was a decoy.
yeah,
If I had a bet,
yeah,
I would say it was a false report because the
yeah.
media these days they like to jump the gun a lot. But North is an unusual name, probably even more unusual than naming a child Apple, right?
Or seven,
Especially or seven
or six.
but when your last name is West,
Right.
why would you name the child North?
Well,
That you're just asking for trouble.
well, but
You know?
they're stars though. Stars don't have the same troubles we have.
Well, yeah, but Stars kids get bullied like any other kid.
Eh, I don't know. Do they? I
Yeah,
mean, Erica
kids are
Badu's
kids.
kids are what 7, 4, 1.
7. Yeah, they're like she's got 3 of them. They're like named after an area code or so. I don't know what that's
It's like
about.
yeah, ha ha ha. My dad's Kanye West. Okay.
So yes, but
And let me ask you this: if the name isn't North,
mm-hmm.
is there a need to apologize?
No,
Yeah,
no. But I think the child's name is North though.
yeah. I faded on that whole uh,
Yeah,
baby thing. So yeah, well, and also mothers. I mean, you know how it is when you're a mom and you're famous. Can you really, again, this book right here, Tony,
mm-hmm.
Digital Leaders,
Mm-hmm.
Digital Leader, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Talks about the imprint that we're all making and how we're the first generation that used to be only superstars had to worry about this kind of stuff. Now we do.
Yeah.
And so those things you say on Twitter or whatever are out there forever. So our kids will get a chance to see whatever you wrote. And so I think that's what has us caught up. To say that at the beauty shop, to say that around your girls, to say that's what we do.
Okay.
Now you go to Twitter and say it, and the whole world is like, "What did Lele Ali say?" And it probably just blows up in your face. You said something on Twitter. You going about your day, and then you see all of a sudden you're the headline on Media Takeout and World Star Hip Hop, and you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, and people calling you for an interview, and you're just like, what? Because they're quoting your. That irritates me too. They quote Twitter.
Well, you said it. You
But
wrote it.
I guess what I'm saying is, it's almost like it's not it's Twitter. They turn it into for celebrities something that you quote, but I know for the most part, Twitter's almost even I think how it was envisioned was comments, funny comments, whatever, but they take them out of context and then
Mm-hmm.
it makes it crazy. Because
Well,
most of the
we're
time,
good for taking things out of context, though.
yeah, and I think that's what it is. Twitter is like, well, whatever, but then it's taken like, and then Tony Scott said he
Yeah.
hopes, it was funnier than a pail of
Mm-hmm.
dead babies. Is that
Yeah.
funny?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So speaking of Twitter, though, Maxwell basically told people to f off because they were heating him up because he, I guess his girlfriend is a white woman, I guess,
He
and
was
so they're
post,
giving him hell about that. But hello, isn't Maxwell is Puerto Rican,
yeah.
and he can.
He
Go
was
ahead, man.
posting. He was posting women, like they happened to be long-legged European women, and he was
European. They're white women.
yeah,
European.
commenting. So finally, Keisha and them got mad, right?
Man,
And so you know
he took
how
he took
yeah,
offense.
it turns into, and we see this all the time. To me, like, um, you know, yeah, people's emotions get caught up, and it's like almost like, why don't you find me beautiful? I don't.
But I mean, but who said I didn't find you beautiful? This is the person that I want to be with and stuff. That's not the first white woman he's dated.
No, but not just his girlfriend Tony. He was like, I guess their anger was all these images of women are all women who aren't black or Puerto Rican.
Okay,
They're all European.
but that's his right, though, right? And he's allowed to do that.
Exactly.
Like you're allowed to do whatever you want, right? To post pictures of women.
people, right? And you can't.
So do dark skinned women give you hell because your wife is fair skinned, or you know?
Okay, now why you going there, Tony? Why you got to go there?
I'm just asking a
Bringing my
question.
wife into this conversation. That used to
I'm
be
just saying.
that used to
So
be the in St. Louis. You remember that should be the knock on me. Like people would be like, "Yeah, Mark, we talking like he likes sisters and natural hair, but it don't make no sense. Allison got curly hair." And so, it was always like, well, yeah, I guess she's my wife. But
see,
but in
I'm
theory,
the only one that's legit then, huh?
huh?
I'm the only one that's legit. I got me a black woman.
Well, now, Tony, you know me,
Yeah.
and as a single man, you could vouch that it
Oh,
was it was a United Nations up in that one,
man. It was the Rainbow Coalition up in there, man.
big and
I think,
small.
yeah, you ran the gamut from the rooter to the tutor. Yeah, you did.
And then
Speaking of
people,
Twitter, talking about Twitter, man. So Beyonce cut all her hair off,
I like she
and
looks great.
and then you know what? I don't care for it, but that's only because I'm not used to seeing her that way.
Yeah, I thought
Give
she
me
had.
give me a week, and I think she'll look just as great as she's always looked. You know, I just got to get used to it. But people were heating the people. There's a real debate about that.
I think now. Well, Tony, you can say now, and your culture, black culture, whatever you are, man. Are you a long hair guy? I mean, like basically the knock is a friend of mine. Anyway, Allison and I've had this conversation about the alleged man of color's obsession with long hair.
Mm-hmm.
I say my point was I didn't believe women have to wear weaves. I'm not a big weave guy. You know, some of my wife and others say, well, you say that, but just look, why do women do it? I say women do it because of women. What do you say, Don?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of validity to that. I think some women spend a lot of time trying to appeal to men, and I think that's a waste of time because to me, you got to be happy. You got to be happy with you first before you make me happy. And as far as like what I prefer what looks good on someone because not everybody has a head for short hair. You know, not everybody has a head for the how you shave your head. Not everybody. I don't have a head for that. You know, I did that, and there'd be more reflection and satellite bounce offs than anything else. You know, but I mean, it's just I think we as a people are so guilty of trying to put everybody in a box.
Yeah.
You know, women like to have long hair. He's color struck. He only likes to date light skinned women. He only likes white women. We like to put people in a box like that, and it's unfortunate. I mean, everything from relationships to music to TV. You remember back in the day, TV actors couldn't be movie actors, and movie actors, if you go into the TV show, it was a come down. It wasn't a come up. It was you stepping down, right? Remember that? We just like to put people in a box. You know, in this country, when the president was running for president, he's a black man. No, he's not. He's half white. Well, I said this on my radio show, and I still stand by it. In this country, and I can't speak for any other country, in this country, you are what you look like. Halle Berry is biracial. She looks like a black woman. She's black. That's just how we are in this country. Is it right? I don't think it is, but it is what it is.
And what you look like is interesting. There's a comedian. What is his name? You seen the South African comedian?
Mm-mm.
Something Noah. Very funny dude, and his perspective is great because he's from South Africa, but he's mixed. So in South Africa, that puts you in the colored category.
Right.
And so he was saying when he was a kid, it was illegal for whites and blacks. His white mother would be considered a black. So when she had him as a baby walking down the street, when the cops came, she let his hand go because it's illegal for a black to have a colored baby because it's illegal for a black to be with a white. But anyway, coming from that and then coming to America, one of the jokes is, and he looks like he's a light skinned black guy. He's like, so everybody from Hispanics to, everybody, they think he's them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, no, no. And he said basically his whole life he couldn't wait to be black because in America he would be black. But you're right. It's all driven by what you look like. Like you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember when I first got to St. Louis, it was interesting because you, I think, were fighting for your identity. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
hey, everybody,
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know that I'm Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like people were like, why you got to say that? It was almost like some people were offended that you
Yeah.
were taking pride in who you are. And I think you were at a stage in your life where it was important to embrace who you were, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And
Mm-hmm.
so, now probably 10, what is it, 20 years later, damn, is it 10 years later, whatever?
Something like that, yeah.
You are probably now more who you are. You're not trying to necessarily be anything. You just kind of who you are. But if
Well,
that's
I'll
specific,
say this: I'm more comfortable
yeah,
with myself now than I've ever been in my life.
yeah.
And it
Remember,
just it's
remember
shame it took that long, but
when we did I thought it was interesting. So here's Tony, who is fighting to be, Tony. And some people were like, again, well, why does he got to say he's Hispanic? Because he is.
because he is.
And then we hosted that event with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guys were like, do you speak Spanish? And you're like, no. So they gave me, now the guy who was judging you looked
Yeah.
like me. He had
Mm-hmm.
like an afro. And
Oh
it was
yeah.
almost like,
Oh, you're talking about the golf tournament?
yeah, it was like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
speak Spanish? Like
yeah.
almost like, are you ain't really? So seeing you in that situation was very interesting because it was like, you can't win. You
I can't win.
got to
Can't
prove
win.
to the black people that you're black enough,
Yeah.
and prove to your people that you're Mexican enough.
It's an interesting dynamic though because I've gotten letters and emails from black listeners who says they're gonna quit listening to me because I took a job from a black man. So I'm keeping a black man from being employed because
But
I'm on a black radio station. All
but
right.
they didn't write letters when you took a black man's life. So that's the problem. But all the people you killed in Texas,
Well,
not that.
let's not get we'll edit that out. Can
Back
we
when
edit?
Tony had his ponytail, was
Yeah.
chopping people up.
And
You just don't
then
have the money. You don't have the money.
and then I got people saying, "Well, what's wrong with being black?" And I was like, "I have no idea. Once you tell me, But some people think that I'm part black, and I'm not. I'm not. And I may run people away now saying he's not. Well,
What? I've been listening
turn
for
this.
30 years.
But I never said I was black. I never wanted to give people that impression because I wanted to be honest. And I don't really talk a lot about it. I get emails from people still to this day that say, well, what nationality are you? I don't even respond because it's not necessary to me, And since we're talking about that, we talked about this last week that Oprah says that the N-word, you can't be her friend. And somebody asked her, well, what about Jay-Z? She says, we just have to agree to disagree because Jay-Z says that his generation took the power out of that word. And I don't believe you can take the power out of that word. And it's interesting because Olivia, my daughter, says that the controversy is not going to go away until everybody stops using that word. Until that point, this is going to go on forever. Until everybody of all races agrees not to use that word. And that ain't going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to Jay-Z. Well, I think I told you last time I was on this Jay-Z kick. I was just going over interviews because I'm fascinated by Jay-Z and people like Jay-Z who, again, you come from the projects and now you are a thought leader in a whole bunch of areas. Mm-hmm. Now, some would say, yes, you're a thought leader, but you still say nigger. And now the interesting thing I thought about was listening to his album. In addition to saying nigger all the time, he says, the B word for his wife. Mm-hmm. Basically like got a bad B from Houston or whatever.
Now, how is it you can say nigger, but you can't say bitch? How is it? What is that about?
Right. And so, exactly. I was trying to be like, well, let's see, it's for the kids, but it don't matter now. We're talking about our daughters, but so obviously we would never say, bitch never was a word that I ever used. Mm-hmm. I do use nigga though. But so now, in a song, in the scheme of a song, he references his bad bitch, mm-hmm. who obviously is his wife from Houston. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like, well, yeah, if you would say, some would say you call your wife a bitch. You didn't really call her, he's not really calling her a bitch, but how he's using it, it's in the wordplay, it's in the artistry of rap or whatever.
It rhymes.
It rhymes. It almost, I don't say, not excuses but it's consistent. You know what I mean? It's almost like, why are you doing this? Because the art form that I am the king of, this is how it's been expressed, since I've been in the game. So to now change it, I think from his business standpoint, he says, I'm not going to do that because it's not relatable for the people who are buying it. who I'm communicating with. And I think it's almost like, again, it can add fuel to arguments across the board because some would say, well, you've grown out of that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you say, well, you've grown out of that. You've grown in so many ways. Why wouldn't you also grow in your ability to communicate and use other words? And then I guess others would say, he probably would say, artistically, I'm two different people. I'm businessman Jay-Z, but then the artist side is not thinking like that. The artist side is just being an artist, which if I change that, I will not be an artist anymore.
Right.
And I think that's the dilemma. And I think artists will say that,
But the other side to that, though, since we're talking about Jay-Z, is if there's anybody in hip hop has the power to change things, it would be him. I mean, he's the one who got all the men in hip hop to wear suits.
right.
He's the one who did that. He's the one who took things to a whole nother level as far as business outside of hip hop. He's the one, right? So I think if anybody could really effectively end the use of the N word in hip hop, not saying he could do it with a stroke of the pen, but I think him setting the example would go a long way.
Well, and I think this is where the breakoff is from artistry, community activism, and all that stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
think the problem with most people of color want, and again, I think even like the generations like a Harry Belafonte who did it, they want a Jay-Z to be that guy,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not.
Well, and he
You know what I
shouldn't
mean?
be unless he wants to be. He shouldn't be pressured into it.
Exactly.
I'll
And,
say
and
that.
and what we see on the radio is just because it's almost like when we were working on hip hop radio. The thing that is definitely apparent, Tony, and we see it from the inside out is the activists will say, y'all are the reason the people want to hear this music. What
Mm-hmm.
we see firsthand is, no, this is what they want to hear.
Right.
All those positive songs, and the internet's a prime example. YouTube. You can do that now. You don't have to have radio. Put out a great song about positive stuff, see how many people you get.
Yeah, that's true.
Now,
That's true.
but at the same time, do that same thing and be a super artist and have
Mm-hmm.
a gift, you get 1 million followers. But
That's
you
true.
but you can't put out something positive. It's like gospel rap. You can't just say in the name of God, I'm gonna put out something positive and the whole world's gonna feel it. No. If it sucks, they're not gonna feel it. Or if they can't if you're not meeting them where they are, they're not gonna feel it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and again, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. That again is back why a guy like a Bill Cosby is a genius,
Mm-hmm.
because he was able to take positive information but entertain us, and still is at wherever he's 80 something.
Mm-hmm.
He still does it.
Right.
A Harry Belafonte, who probably actually wasn't the greatest vocalist of the world. He leveraged that to make a huge difference as a star.
Did I read this about Harry Belafonte that he picked up the financial load for Malcolm X's kids after Malcolm was murdered? I think I read that recently somewhere that
Oh
he
wow.
he he picked up a lot of the financial responsibility. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did read that
And that
somewhere.
that generation had a lot. I mean, from the Jim Browns in sports and the Kirk Flood, who basically had a desire and put their money where their mouth was when it came to changing the world. But like you said, that's who they were. If
Mm-hmm.
it's not you, then it's not you. That's why, like this movie, The Butler, it's almost like everybody can affect change in their own way. As much as people throw Michael Jordan under the bus because he didn't use his platform to change the world, Michael Jordan did change the world. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he made people who look like Michael Jordan, gods, basically, across the world.
Yeah.
He made
Well,
them
see, the
a
problem
little, a
is
little
though.
less, a little less scary.
Well, but the problem I think with people and Michael Jordan is he changed the world, but he didn't change the world the way I wanted him to.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Now, you still talk about the Butler. Lee Daniels said in an interview that it is possible for white people to really love black people and still call them the N word, especially in the South.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You do?
Yeah, I told you my Pauline story in Springfield, Illinois.
Yeah.
Shall we hear it again?
Yes, let's hear it again.
So, coming up in Springfield, Illinois, population like 11%, 11% African American. So my mother grew up there, and across the street lived a family. I can't think. Pauline was the sweetest. She was an old woman when I was a kid, but every time they talked about Pauline and her family, they're like a white family lived on the block in a black neighborhood.
Pauline's family?
Pauline family, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Lived across the street. Every time they talked about Pauline's family, they talked about how racist her dad was. Her dad was always racist. Her dad was, so I knew that from a kid. So one day we were talking, and so it came out that Pauline's family was the only family on the block that had a phone, right? And he did call people. He did use the nigger. He did use the N word. It was the only house on the block that had a phone, but he let everybody use his house as the emergency number.
Even black people.
Right.
Okay.
So everybody on the block used their house as the emergency number, and they could use the phone. So it was.
But he was a racist.
Exactly. So I remember just thinking that just because he called them a nigger, he used it. He was labeled a racist, but he also gave them a number so when they had a job, if there was an emergency, they could use his phone at any hour of the night. Wow. So what does that mean? I think, and so yeah, I agree. Especially like I said in the South, it was these same people. I mean, you know how it went in the South. I mean, mammy or whoever raised the kid, nursed the kid.
Yeah.
It's just it's the complexity of how crazy. On one hand, you called us chattel, and you said that we were animals, but you let the animals nurse your kids. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Not at all.
But I think that, and you trusted the animals with your life.
Mm-hmm. And your children's lives.
More so than, so it's complex. And I think, like Olivia said, sadly, well, it'll go on forever. Well, or until the old folks die.
Well, that's true too. That is true. I believe that. Now, I think it's true.
Because Olivia's peers, I think the bite of the word nigger, it's different than even with us.
Mm-hmm. But see, they didn't see the pictures of, and in some cases of African American families, pictures of their relatives lynched. Exactly. They didn't see that. We saw that in history books and things like that. They don't see that anymore. It doesn't mean as much. We grew up with a lot of things like that. See, kids have other stimulation now. Other ways to be stimulated. They don't get stimulated by books like we were. So I think it's one of those things. So finally, I saw this article about a pastor. I don't know where this happened in America, but apparently he got fired for going to a Rick Ross concert. So, see, to me, no. To me, that might have been the last straw, but there had to be some other things on the list that got him. You don't get fired for going to a Rick Ross concert from a church, do you? Is the church passing judgment like that?
Man, we couldn't go see Rick Ross, man.
He go see Rick Ross, man.
He was doing that song. Don't let the devil in. he was taking Rick's song and maybe using it positive. Don't let the devil in. Research what?
He got blown out, man, for going to a Rick Ross concert. So if that's the case, then they essentially passed judgment on him by saying that by going to a Rick Ross concert, there's no way possible that you're equipped to lead our church.
Right.
Now, how stupid is that?
So, Tony, if it was your church, you'd give him a pass?
Yeah, man.
Now,
if I saw him there smoking weed, okay, that'd be different.
Yeah.
Okay? But if he just went to the concert, and maybe he went there so that he could take something he could use in a sermon. Maybe he was trying to use it for research. I mean, I don't know. I didn't speak to the man, but you don't fire a pastor for going to a Rick Ross concert.
Yeah, and like you said, it's almost, you know how those churches work, though, because even firing a minister just is a lot. Like, what happened? He got fired.
Yeah.
Like you said, and hey, you meet people where they are.
Yeah.
Maybe he wanted a Bugatti. Maybe he wanted to wake up in a new Bugatti. I woke up in a new Bugatti. Wait a minute. I think Rick Rock's on the remix of that. Not the original,
All right, man, we're going to wrap it up, man. Marc Clarke is the host of the Hank Suite on Saturday nights on WHUR in Washington, D.C., 96.3. You can actually listen on WHUR.com if you're not in the D.C. area. And he's also on satellite radio.
Yes, I do quite a show.
You know what? I heard you went from Johnny Taylor to Drake to Smokey Robinson to Rick Ross. I mean, it's quite a large playlist you got going over there during the week.
It is. It's quite a cadre of
Not a
classics.
cadre.
Yes.
Well,
cornucopia of classics.
A plethora.
And not so classic. It's like Shaka Khan singing Mickey Mouse with the Philharmonic Orchestra.
Hey, remix!
I never knew she did it. And then,
well,
I just saw This and That Media Production. I just saw you just posted something just a few hours ago, didn't you?
I did about I don't understand how people cannot care.
I want to check.
People say I don't give a damn. I don't give a, and they're serious. They don't care about the economy, about jobs, about the violence, about drug use, about their kids. They don't care that their mother needs to be taken to the doctor or their father needs some medication, but you instead are going to the Essence Music Festival when you could have used that money to help. You don't care. I don't understand. I'm not wired that way, Mark.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like a symptom. They're just overwhelmed, man.
Well,
I think that's what they say. Their mouth says it, but they really do care.
That's what their mouth say.
That's what their mouth say. That's what their mouth say.
Give me that Rick Ross line again about the devil, man.
Don't let the devil in. Google that. Google that so you can hear the song. It'll be in your head forever.
All right.
There was a lady in my at HUR who's like in her 60s, and I had to crack up because she said I heard her say I was like, "What?" And I misunderstood. So she's a smoker. So when she goes outside and smokes, a lot of times there are other young kids out there. So she said, "Yeah, when I'm smoking," and I was like, "Smoking?" And it was like all these images, like, "What? Smoking? Rick Ross? What's going on here?" But she meant smoking a cigarette. So, but I heard I hadn't even heard that song. In fact, I don't think I even have heard the song, but I can always hear her say, "Don't let the devil in."
2 dads and 6 daughters. Thanks for watching so much. And we'll do it again next week, man.
Same bad time, same bad station.